Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Yay!
Are you still awake?
Yay!
Yeah? Okay, great, awesome. So this presentation, I initially planned it to be have a lot of content in it, but then I realized we're gonna run out of time, so I broke it into chapters. And this is going to be the chapter 1 in a series I call Design Without a Designer. If there's any information that you'd like to see, you can always find it on my website. It's Alborz.Design. And I know what you're thinking right now, that why I, a designer, I'm presenting about design without a designer. And right. So the question you should be asking is why not? Because so many times I work on a project, like a small project on my free time, and I couldn't find a developer to work on it. And I know so many developers that work on something on the side, and you can't find a designer to work on it. So I know the pain, and if I can give you a tip that can help you like work better alone on your projects, then why not? Share the knowledge. What this presentation is not going to be is me telling you that you should go out there and get a designer, or how important design is, or 5 tips that you can use to get your design from whatever to amazing. We don't have time for that. What this is going to be is that I'm going to teach you one thing. I'm going to teach you a way of thinking that when applied to any problem can open doors to new creative solutions. See, one problem that many professionals, especially in the tech industry, have is that anytime we are faced with a problem or a solution or an idea, we frame it in the context of our own knowledge. So for me as a designer, when I hear an idea, I start to think, all right, if somebody's telling me about an app they're working on, I immediately start thinking, so these are going to be the screens, maybe there's a couple buttons here, there can be an animation in between. And for a developer, you can be listening to the same conversation, but you're going to start thinking about, all right, so you need backend, and you need these like frameworks to work on. This is just the way our brains think. We see in patterns, and it's a trick our brains have learned to basically save processing power. We see things in pattern and it makes it easier to process because there's so much information. And what I'm going to try and show you today is a way to think outside of these boundaries, because it's when you go outside that you really find the creative solutions. So I chose an alarm clock app for my example. The best way I thought I can show you is with an example. And an alarm clock is a really simple one. So the first thing I always like to do is to come up with, create the user's journey, kind of like the process flow. And so it's an alarm clock. User opens the app, sets wake up time, user goes to sleep. App detects time has come, app plays never gonna give you up, user wakes up. You have 2 options, turn off alarm or snooze for 5 minutes, and snooze sends it in a loop. It's very easy. So now at this point you might be thinking about all the development solution that you're thinking how this can be made. And if I'm looking at this, I'm like, all right, so snooze and turn off, there are 2 buttons, how can I do it? Like setting the timer, is it gonna be like the UI time picker, or is there a fancy slider that you can do it? But this is the problem. We are thinking in the frame, we're thinking in the frame of our own knowledge, and we should go a step beyond it. So the easiest way to do that is to pick any step in this process and think and ask yourself this simple question. Can I still make this app if I remove this step? User opens app. All right, so can you have an app, can you have an alarm where the user doesn't open the app? Is that possible? So you have your app, but user can no longer touch it. So what other solutions you have? Maybe the user gets a notification. They get a reminder to set alarm. All right, that's another idea. How has this changed the process flow now? How has this changed the user's journey? So as you can see, there's now a new path. App sends push notification at 10 p.m. So from the look of it, it made the app more complicated. But did it really? Because the way I see it, this is what really happened. So initially, the user had to remember to open the app every night and set the alarm. But now with a push notification, the user no longer needs to remember. And every time you can do something that removes a step that a user needs to remember, you're moving in the right direction. Because remembering things is tough, and we like to not do things because we're lazy by default, so that's a good step forward. Now let's look at the alarm again. Is there any way we can improve this? Maybe we can look at users' past behavior and suggest them options right away, because the user usually wakes up at 8 or 8:30. All right, that's good. That's another thing the user doesn't need to do. When they open the app, they don't have to choose a time anymore. Okay, is there any way else we can improve this? Maybe we can look in the user's calendar, and we can see that this user has a dentist appointment at 8:30. It takes 35 minutes to drive there, and we can say, if it takes you 30 minutes to prepare, you wake up at this time. If it takes you 40 minutes to prepare, you wake up at this time. And the user can choose right there. So comparing this to a regular app, regular alarm clock, the user usually have to open their calendar, check the time of their dentist appointment, open Google, check the time it takes to drive there, then check the time, and then think about how long it takes them to prepare every morning, and then do the math and work backwards from the 8:30 appointment to drive there and then to prepare, and then they kind of have to guess what time they need to wake up. So with this simple notification, we have removed all of that work, the math, from the user, and we do it for them. So it has become really contextual now and very aware and personal for the user. Taking it one step further, so maybe the user always takes 30 minutes to prepare. So maybe we can show different options of different modes of transport. We can say, if you want to drive, this is when you need to wake up. If you're biking, this is when you need to wake up. And again, they don't have to think about it. They don't have to go to Google and check the biking time to the dentist office. It's all done for them. So now we're kind of entering new territory because we have the driving and biking on the other end. So it looks like if we encourage the users to bike to where they're going next, it would be a good thing to do for them. So maybe we can add some encouragement. Maybe what we can do is show the price, the cost of each of those options. So if you take the car, you have to pay for parking and fuel and everything. It's gonna cost $13. But if you take the bike, like if you bike there, it's free. So that's like more encouragement for me. Like maybe I'm going to bike and save $13 by just like waking up an hour earlier. And you can take it even a step further and show how many calories you would burn by doing each of those. For the past year, I set myself a goal of like biking to work every time it's sunny and it's nice. For the past year, I have done it the total number of 1. Maybe if I had this alarm clock, I would have done it more, because every night I would get a notification that, hey, if you wake up earlier tomorrow, you save $13 and you burn this much calories. And this is like really contextual, specific to me, depending on my calendar. And like just by asking that one simple question, can we still have an alarm clock app where a user doesn't open the app? We have come up with so many creative ideas that can be implemented. By the way, this alarm clock was just something I did for this presentation. So if you feel like actually making it, please do. And let me know when you do, because I'll be using it for sure. If there is one thing that I want to leave you with tonight, is to question everything, no matter how boring, mundane, or obvious they might seem. Because it's when you question the obvious, you break the boundaries of what's normal and you really come up with creative solutions. And if you want to get updates on the next chapters of this series, you can go to my website and find the information there. And thank you so much for your time, and see you next time.